Welcome to Astronomy Live. This morning, once again, hunting for Broussard's planet, Gill Broussard, who published an orbit for a planet he says is out there. So, to briefly recap, I took the orbit that he portrayed in his book, and I'll link to it in the video description, and calculated the orbital elements it would have to have, and actually recreated his orbit. He showed figures that were from Starry Night, and from that I was able to get enough information to calculate his orbital elements, even though he didn't directly publish them. So, a few nights ago, I did a webcast hunting for that planet based on those orbital elements, searching along that orbit to see if we could find anything. I was going to compare those images to pictures I had already taken with itelescope.net, but I've decided to go ahead and shoot the area again with my own telescope instead for comparison, just to be a completionist and just to go the extra mile. Because the itelescope images, I'm not completely satisfied with the sensitivity of those images in infrared after looking at them compared to my own images, which go much deeper. In fact, these images go deeper than I even anticipated, and much deeper than needed to address this claim. Now, Gill's book indicates that the planet is currently naked eye visible, that it is a naked eye magnitude. So I'm really going the extra mile here by imaging it all in infrared. So even if it were only visible in infrared light and somehow invisible in visible light, we'd still detect it here in these images. I'm going to be a little more pressed for time than I was last time. I got a later start. Obviously, it's 4 a.m. now Eastern time. So astronomical twilight approaches in about an hour. So instead of doing 5-minute images, I'm going to be doing 3-minute images and just pushing through as quickly as possible. Also, in order to get rid of the hot pixels and get rid of as many as possible from the second series of images, I'm just doing an auto dark subtraction here, so we can get rid of all these distracting solid blue, red, and green pixels. As soon as that's complete, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and get the start on putting in the next set of coordinates. So I'm going to be banging through this as quickly as possible. Now, this webcast is going to be somewhat redundant since we've already been over these same stars, the same area. But in order for a real proper analysis here, I'm going to be doing it all over again. I know it won't be necessarily the most entertaining webcast since I'm going to be somewhat distracted trying to get these images in as quickly as possible. So, okay, we slew to the second set of coordinates. I'm going to set up the auto guiding as quickly as possible. Hopefully we won't get any cloud delays. That will absolutely kill us tonight. And I won't be able to reach the end before twilight if that's the case. But the weather is clear tonight. It's much better than the last night that we did this. So even though we're only doing 3-minute images, we're still getting excellent depth on the images because the transparency is much better tonight. Oops, stop. Okay, auto guide. Set this to 2. Okay, the auto guide is running. Go. So that's the first image complete. The hot pixels are gone. Looks beautiful. That's a globular cluster right there. I forget the number on it. It's an NGC. You can see, I mean, the whole image is just filled with stars here. We're looking pretty close to the galactic equator, so star field is very dense. It gets less dense as you get further away as we proceed from image to image, but we're still getting excellent depth here, way below the magnitude that Gill's planet is supposedly at. Now, even if he were off on the arrival date by several years, it would still be at a detectable magnitude. I've calculated that based on the magnitudes he gave along various points in time on page 39 of his book. And based on those calculations, I found that even if it were still 5 years out, it would still be about magnitude 12, which is easily detectable to amateur equipment like this. So we would pick it up in these images. Even with just 3-minute exposures, it's not a problem. So we're going to be looking for that. We're going to be looking for anything moving between the images taken tonight and the images taken during my previous webcast. And I'll do a third video, which will finally put this thing to bed one way or another by comparing those images directly. So I've already astrometrically solved all the images from the previous webcast. I've got those links in the video description of that webcast now. Initially, I did a Microsoft Ice panorama mosaic stitching on it, but realized that Microsoft Ice was actually dropping about half the images I took. It wasn't as big a panorama as it was supposed to be, because as the star field thins out as you get further away from the galactic equator, Microsoft Ice is not really designed for astrophotography. It can do it, but you need a lot of reference points. You need a lot of stars in the overlap region, and I didn't leave enough overlap region to make it happy with a thin star field. There's still an overlap region, and there are still overlapping stars, but it wasn't enough for Microsoft Ice once you got further away from the galactic plane. So basically, I ditched that idea, much as I'd love it, because Microsoft Ice does a really nice job seamlessly putting photos together like this. But instead, just astrometrically solving each individual photo. And you can load that up in a variety of programs. The links include links to astrometrically solved FITS version, which has the WCS coordinates embedded in the image, which a lot of professional astronomy software uses. And that's a pretty standard convention right there. It's a standard format for embedding coordinates in an image. And then also KMZ format, if you want to load it up in Google Sky, you can overlay it on top of Google Sky. Now, we're not going to be using Google Sky's mosaic. It's terrible. It has gaps along the region that we're searching. It's just not what we want. So instead of that, we are going to go ahead and use my images instead for the whole comparison. All right, next coordinates. 44, 58. So there's 21 images that we have to get through very quickly. 57. It's the top of M22 there. Yeah, top of the M22 and the top of the image there. The image is 180 degrees rotated from true orientation, but anyway. Okay, telescope slew 2 coordinates. I'm hoping the slews are going to be accurate enough. Let me check that. Let's see. Start this. Alright, take image. I actually left the mount up since the last webcast. I haven't repolar aligned, but the telescope did come off the mount and then back on, so I'm hoping that didn't jostle it enough to throw the alignment off too much. It seemed to be pretty good. When I fired up the telescope, it landed my alignment star right in the eyepiece without me having to do anything, so that's a good sign. Basically, the error there, in a perfect world, if the mount hadn't moved, the error would be entirely due to the fact that I was just eyeballing the home position of the telescope, which is 0 degrees declination and pointed at the meridian. And in a perfect world, if you do that perfectly and you are polar aligned, all the go-to should work seamlessly, just perfectly. You shouldn't have to resync it, in theory. Now, in practice, you can't eyeball it perfectly. There's no such thing. So, but hopefully that error, that I took out with the sync procedure was entirely due to my own eyeballing and not the mount being jostled. There's also the alignment between the guide scope, wide field refractor here and the main scope, the alignment between those two telescopes is not perfect. So there's a little bit of misalignment there. So these images won't necessarily perfectly overlap with the previous images. There's going to be, but hopefully there's going to be a generous enough overlap region which covers the orbit of the object we're looking for. So let me see here. Yeah, there's a good amount of overlap there. These stars right here were in the image, the second image that I took during the last webcast. So I know I'm landing in about the right position. So these stars, yeah, I think we're in good shape. These stars were there. Yeah, we're in good shape. This wasn't quite in the image before. So like I said, it's not going to be perfectly aligned with previous images, but it's going to be close enough. The middle of that image was right. Let's see, am I looking at that right? Yeah, the middle of that previous image was right about here, which is about where the orbit of that planet runs through. So we're looking for it to be somewhere here in our images, a little bit lower than before, a little bit south of center, if you will, in the image, which is really north of, because these images are rotated 180 degrees. It's confusing, I know. It'll all make sense when I do the third video. Main thing for tonight is just capturing these images. I wanted to webcast it just for the sake of transparency, so everyone can see me acquiring the images, hear the images as they're being acquired. Okay, there's that image. Stop autogating. Thank you. Moving on to section 4. Coordinates are going to be 1851, 4, negative 2256, 49. I'm glad I'm getting this out of the way now for a couple reasons, which I'll explain in a minute once I get this image running. Okay. Slewing. Good enough. Take image. Beautiful. All right, go. Take image. So, yeah. Today I'm going to the SpaceX launch attempt, which I think is still on, for about 10:41 Eastern Daylight Time, and going to try to photograph it with my telescope here. So I'm going to have to tear down the mount, take the wedge off, all that, so it'll no longer be polar aligned at that point for sure. But that's why I was hoping to get night 2 of this search in before I have to do that, and also because I'm leaving today on a trip, so I'll be back sometime next week, probably around Wednesday. But even then, the moon phase is going to start to intrude soon, and the weather's not been the most cooperative, so the first clear night I wanted to get this done, and like I say, was hoping to get it done by tonight at the latest. So that's why I'm pushing ahead tonight, even though I'm getting a bit of a late start. The weather has finally cleared up. It wasn't very good to start the night off. In fact, it was terrible, but it's cleared up nicely now. And in fact, I can even see the Milky Way, which from this particular site is not always a guaranteed thing, but the transparency is really quite nice tonight. So, getting excellent sensitivity out of these images. And again, all these images are being recorded in infrared light exclusively. Now, I did blink those images, the images I acquired off the first webcast, against both the iTelescope images, which just didn't tell me as much as I'd like. It's just that those iTelescope images are not as sensitive as these. They have a much wider field of view. They cover a huge section of the sky at once, but not to the depth that these images do. So that's the trade-off there, and I don't need such a massive field of view for this search. We know what the orbit's supposed to be. We know where it's supposed to be, to within a pretty decent degree of certainty. These images, even these images, are pretty wide field here. You could fit the entire full moon across the width of this image about, is it three times over. So they're pretty darn wide field here. And yeah, it takes more images to cover the same span of the sky. I'm taking 21 images here. With iTelescope, it only took me 9 images. So there's the advantage, but I really want the depth. I really want maximum sensitivity to put this puppy to bed once and for all. Okay, abort that. Abort that. Going on to section 5. Okay, coordinates are going to be 1957, 19, negative 22, 48, 32. It's good. Okay. I'm going to take an image. That autoguide star, you don't really want another star next to your autoguide star too close, because it could confuse the autoguider. You want only one star in this tiny little window it's taking pictures with. So there we go. If necessary, I may recalibrate the first night's images. The dark frames I used for calibrating the first night's images were a little bit out of date, and some new hot pixels have appeared on the CCD, so there are remaining hot pixels left over then in each of the images, and it's the same on each image, so you can tell they're hot pixels, but it does make it distracting when you're trying to find a new object, which is moving between two sets of pictures. They'll blink on and off instead of move, but it can get distracting. So I may go back and recalibrate those, which is going to take some time. And like I said, I'm going to be gone on a trip. I leave actually today after the launch. I have to fly out today, so I have to run to the airport immediately after the launch, assuming it goes. If it doesn't go, I don't get to see it, but if it does go today, then I should be able to get some pictures, some video of it. Don't know when I'm going to be able to get that uploaded. We'll see if I can. I might be able to edit it on my laptop here. I've got some video editing software on my laptop I can use to make the video of the launch, but I don't particularly like the software that I've got on my laptop versus my desktop. But if I get the time, I'll try to put that together. I can't guarantee. I'm going to be pretty busy on my trip, and I've also got this data to deal with as well. But at some point, I should be able to get that up. Depends. I mean, if I get really good video of the Falcon 9's first stage relighting, that's what I really want to get, is that first stage relight as it comes back into the atmosphere. I won't be able to see them actually make the landing attempt. It's too far offshore to see, but I will be able to see them relight as they descend back into the atmosphere. If I can get on that and get video of it, I do want to get that out pretty quickly, because that'll be topical, timely, and interesting to look at. So, all right. I wonder, I could start putting in the coordinates even before it's done taking the image, but whatever, doesn't matter. I mean, maybe it does matter. Oh, fighting cats, that's fun. I kind of do need to pick up the pace. I might start doing that. Okay. Here comes this picture. Beautiful. And, you know, it's not the end of the world if we don't get to the end tonight. Hopefully we do. But we can always come back again and do it on a third night. I just hope I don't have to extend it out to night 3 on this. So, 1903, 28, 22, 40, 51. Okay. Telescope. Cursor position. Beautiful. Auto guider, take an image. Beautiful. Auto guide, start. This is section 6. I think. Cool. So, yeah. A lot going on these days, astronomy-wise, and got this hunt going on. Got a SpaceX launch today. Also have the viral story about Google Sky finally revealing what's in the missing section, which is not actually showing what's in the missing section. Oh, what a headache that's been for me. Simply because I made a video all about what's really under the missing section back in January, and now people are like, hey, what's up with this? It's not what you showed. Yeah, you're right, it's not. That's because what you're seeing there isn't in the missing section at all. It's not even close. This whole winged star debacle, which is a T-Tauri type star with a reflection nebula. And it's not the only one of its kind by any means. There are very similar examples elsewhere in the sky, like Parsamian 21, which I did a webcast on. I'd like to do a webcast on this particular star that they're showing in these viral videos, but it's so close to the sun right now you can't really observe it. So I'm going to have to wait for a different time of year for that. I'll circle back around to that eventually. I do want to take a picture of it just to show, look, it's not moving. It's not a solar system object. It's not coming for us all or anything like that. It's been in the same position since at least, well, there's pictures of it going back to 1951, so you can compare to those pictures, and it hasn't moved, it hasn't grown in size, it's just sat there because it's a distant nebula many light years away. There is actually a high proper motion star in that field, but it's got nothing to do with that particular nebula or star that they're talking about. It's offset from that. Gosh, it always scares me whenever I hear sprinkler system going on. It's not one near me, but after that one night, what was it? What was that asteroid? BL-86? I had to scramble to save my equipment from sprinklers. It's like they say in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Wherever you go in the universe, you have to know where your towel is. It really is true in astronomy. Unexpected surprises like that happen. It always helps to have towels handy to throw over sprinkler heads or protect equipment, whatever. Okay, beautiful. Yep, I remember seeing these stars before. Stop. Okay, next coordinates. We are going to 1909, 40, -22, nope, 30, 47. Position. Beautiful. Auto guide, take a picture. Nice guide star. It's awful close to that edge of field view. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do that one. These others aren't fantastic, but they'll do. Increase that. Gotta increase that to 5 seconds there. This is number 7. If I get behind on numbering the files here, it doesn't really matter. I can rename them afterwards. As long as I'm going down the list of coordinates, that's all that matters. If I screw it up, I'll blame it on the late hour. Let's see, which one are we on? Really? It looks like I might have actually messed it up already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What did I say? Yeah, it is 7. Okay, we're fine. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. I can renumber it later. They're all being saved regardless. Even if the file name's the same from one image to the next, it will append an additional number on the end of that. It's not going to overwrite a picture I already took, so not a problem. But just to save myself a little bit of work and headache later. Tell you what, I'm going to try to pick up the pace by going ahead and entering the next set of coordinates, not slewing to, but just entering in the computer, so that all I have to do is hit slew to after this image is done. 1915, 40, and then -22, 17, 53. These coordinates, like I mentioned in the last webcast, have no real significance in and of themselves. It's just the coordinates that my telescope needs to point at in order to search along the orbit that was given in Broussard's book. The different telescope with a different field of view would need a different set of coordinates in order to cover the same region of space, leaving just a little bit of overlap to cover it completely. It's just that with my telescope, with this camera, with this field of view, these happen to be the set of coordinates that it needs in order to construct a mosaic that covers where the planet's supposed to be right now, all the way back to where it was, where it would be if it were still years out. And actually, what we're doing is we're starting at that position of where it would be if it were still years out, and we're working our way up to where it would currently be, just because that's the most efficient way to do it, given its position in the sky. We're working from basically from the west to the east against the rotation of Earth. Okay, that. That. Okay, I've already got the coordinates loaded, which is handy. Telescope, ludicrous position. Yeah, that's going to speed things up a bit. So this should be position 8. I'm going to go ahead and take a picture. Excellent. I swear the transparency is so much better tonight, which is nice. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think we're able to do here in 3 minutes basically as much as we could have done, or what we were doing in 5 minutes during the previous webcast, just because the transparency is better. So not as much of the light's being blocked by thin cloud cover or anything like that. Okay. Go ahead and set the computer up to get the telescope ready to salute to the next position, which will be, we are here, so it'll be 19, 21, 21, negative 2207, 01. Okay, that's ready. Goody goody. It's also a little bit cooler out here tonight. The camera's not having to work quite as hard to maintain temperature. It's thermoelectrically cooled to negative 5 degrees Celsius, which is really not bad, considering this is still a quite warm Florida summer night. Mosquitoes aren't as bad either, which is nice. But I'm sure they'll locate me as a food source soon enough. So astronomical twilight, I think it's around 5 a.m. or so. Yeah. Nautical twilight's about 5, close to 5:30. And really, you can get away with taking pictures throughout astronomical twilight to some extent. It's not going to kill me necessarily, especially since I'm looking here in infrared light. But still, we do need to keep the pace up here because we're working against the clock. Okay, that one's done. It's done. Telescope. Ludicrous position. Good. I'll go take a picture. 3 seconds. Oh, God. There we go. This will be position 9, I think. And go. Okay, let's get the computer ready for the next position. Ooh. I hope that plane doesn't pass through the field of view. It'll be ugly if it does, but you know, it's funny actually. This T-Tari star that's gone viral actually does have a plane that flew through the field of view in the picture that they used on Google Sky. We have 21, 56. Six. Okay. That's queued up and ready to go. Okay. Stop that, stop that. This will be position 10 coming up. And let's get ready to telescope slow position. Okay. I'm going to take a picture. Go. Let's get telescope queued up for the next position. 1933, 42, negative 21, 43, 49. Okay, that's ready. I'm thinking we might be able to finish, based at the rate we're going, probably get finished right as astronomical twilight is ending, right as nautical twilight is beginning. It's not perfect, it's not ideal per se, but it'll do. Especially since, as we approach the position the object's supposed to be in, the planet's supposed to be in, we're approaching a position where it would also be brightest and easiest to detect. It's supposed to be naked eye magnitude. So this telescope should be able to find it in the middle of nautical twilight, no problem. Even into civil twilight, no problem, really. But, so that's the good news there, I suppose. The further we go, the less sensitive the telescope would have to be in order to detect it. So, but right now we're still cranking the images out here with excellent sensitivity. Okay, like that. This will be position 11. So the telescope. Beautiful. I gotta take a picture. Perfect. Good. Begin. Taking a picture. Also working against the roof line. It's getting a later start here. We're working against the rotation of the Earth. Okay, let's get queued up for the next position. We're doing so. We should be doing so quickly enough that it shouldn't be a problem, I think. 39, 38. Famous last words, right? 31, 56. Okay. That's ready. Okay, stop that, stop that. Scope, slow position. Great. I'm going to take a picture. This will be 12. Guy, begin. Start taking pictures. Okay, queuing up for the next position. Next coordinates will be 1945, 35, 21, 18, 01. Okay, that's ready. Stop that, stop that. Next section's going to be 13. Slew the telescope. Beautiful. There, take a picture. Still managing. Let's queue up the next position. Okay, next position is going to be 1951. 18. Negative 2104. 15. Okay, that's ready to go. This will be the last shot I get that is completely free of any twilight or at all. Astronomical twilight will be starting, should be starting before the next image ends, sometime probably during the next image. You won't notice it right away. As we get closer to the end of astronomical twilight, you might start to notice that the black here is not quite as black as it was. The light level might start to come up on it a little bit. Stop that, stop that. Okay, this will be 14. Oh god, take a picture. Let's keep the next position. Next position is going to be 1956. 46. Negative 20. 50. 30. And it's ready. Okay, that's done. Stop, stop. It's going to be 15. And telescope. Select cursor position. Perfect. I'll guide her, take a picture. Okay. Yeah, we should be done well before nautical twilight begins, which is good. So we'll be okay. If we're already on 15, yeah, we got 6 more images. It's 18 minutes of imaging time. Yeah. Should be done. Yeah, I think we should be done before twilight begins. Okay, let's move on. Let's get it queued up to move on. Okay, next position is going to be 20, 02, 32, 20, 36, 12. Okay, it's ready. Yeah, I would say almost certainly the images we're getting right now are actually more sensitive, better than the images we got during the previous webcasts, just because the transparency is so much better. So despite using shorter exposures, we're still getting more stars. We're actually picking up more stars than we did before. So that's great. That's excellent news. Okay, pause that, pause that. Oh, we got a satellite going through there. That's cool. Telescope, select cursor position. Good. Okay, this is going to be 16. I'll better take a picture. Again. Okay, telescope queued up for next position. Yeah, be 2008, 25, 2013, negative 2013, 53. Is that right? No, it's not right. Negative 2016. Gosh. $36. I don't know where I got that. I got it from not having any sleep, and it's 5 a.m. Double check, guys. 2008, 25, negative 2016, 36. Yeah. Okay. All right, that's ready. That's that. This is going to be 17. And telescope slew. Go. Good. I'll guide her take picture. Slim pickings on the guide star. Do 5-second exposures. Okay, let's get it queued up for next position. 20, 13, 53, 19, 58, 55. That's ready. Yeah, we're getting there. As soon as I get all these pictures astrometrically solved, I'll put them in the video description as links, just like the last webcast. But I may need to do the full analysis on them until, I don't know, sometime later. Probably next week, after I get back from my trip. That. Scope slew. Position. Okay. This will be position 18. I'll got her take a picture. Oh, come on. Oh, God. 3 seconds. Start pictures. And we'll get it queued up for the next. Okay, next position. Will be 2019, 26, negative 19, 42. It's ready for sleep. Stop that, stop that. Telescope slow. Good. Better take picture. This is going to be position number 19. Starting the imaging. Okay, let's get queued up for the next position. 20, 24, 35, negative 19, 23, 04. Okay, that's ready. Okay, stop that, stop that. Okay, take a picture. This is going to be position 20. Down to the home stretch here. Oops. Position 20. Ready. Take a picture. get queued up for the final position. 28, 35, negative 19, 04, 20. Ready? Well, looks like we'll be able to get finished right before start of astronomical twilight. Hooray. I'm sorry, right before the start of nautical twilight. Right before the end of astronomical twilight. So it's all good. Worked out nicely. So it'll be the final position, 21. Let's slow to it. Beautiful. Starting the imaging. All right, well, that was exciting. Managed to crank out the images right before the buzzer. So I'll process these data. Once we get into civil twilight, I'll take some more flat field images for calibration purposes, because there are some dust spots on the CCD, these little slightly darker patches. They're hard to see, but there's a couple darker patches right here due to dust spots. I was able to calibrate that out extremely well out of the previous images from the last webcast. And I think what I'm learning is that it really is important to keep up-to-date flat field frames, because if the dust budges at all, or if the focus changes at all, it can affect the quality of the flat field calibration quite significantly. There's quite a bit of a learning curve in terms of calibrating images, and especially to me, flat fields have always been kind of troublesome. It's just been hit or miss for me, and whether or not I was able to really properly calibrate the image to eliminate any dust or unevenness in the illumination of the field of view. But lately it's been getting better, and I think part of that's because I try to be very diligent about always taking flat fields when doing imaging like this. So today will be no exception. I'll have to be a little bit quick because I need to get down to watch the launch. So as soon as I'm done imaging here, as soon as I'm done taking the flat field frames, I'm going to be tearing down the telescope and packing it up in the car for transport to go watch the launch. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I know this was a bit redundant, with the last webcast. Not a whole lot new to add just yet, but just wanted you guys to be able to see it as I acquired the images so that you can see the whole process start to finish. So after the images are processed, probably be a few days because I'm going to be away, but when I get the chance, I will do a video showing whether or not there's anything new there, anything moving between the images we've taken tonight and the images we took at the last webcast. That's it. 21 images completed, each over 1.5 degrees in width. Stop. Perfect. So that's a lot of sky covered. And that's it. All right. Thanks for watching. Clear skies, folks.